Welcome to another edition of Rhone Infobites. For this episode, we are joined by Michael. Michael, can you give a quick introduction to our listeners, please?
Great. So I'm a senior technical services scientist at R-Biopharm Rhône. I've been with the company about 5 years now. And yeah, just working on method development and problem solving with food samples.
Yeah, busy department, technical services.
Very.
Yeah,
Yep.
So if you've been listening to any of our previous podcasts, I like to just start with a small icebreaker and like to ask our guests to share a food experience with our listeners. So it can either be something good you've had, good experience, a bad experience, or perhaps just even a funny story.
Yeah. Okay, well, probably one of the perks of the job is working with some crazy foods. Cheese, relatively inoffensive, but when you extract it with solvents and a fume hood and a blender and it goes neon orange and neon yellow, it's disgusting. In short, it's disgusting. Working with that is not fun. There's been some days where you come in 9 a.m, the last thing you want to do is blend cheese.
Yeah. Do you still eat cheese?
I do.
Certain
With caution,
types, yeah.
with caution. Stay away from the bright orange stuff.
I suppose that's the downside of working with a food diagnostics company, isn't it? That it can put you off certain foods once you've been working with them in the lab.
Yep, you get a bit jaded.
Yeah. I can imagine cheese and things like fish and different meats that you might work with in the lab are not always the nicest of samples.
No, not a good way to see them.
Yeah, and I believe we have a project coming up working with insects, so that one could be interesting, couldn't it?
Great. Can't wait.
Short straws to see who's working with that, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah. So this is really one of the first podcasts where I would like to focus on a particular product. So we're going to focus on OCHRACARD. It felt like a good time to talk about this product, particularly following the new legislation with regards to Ochratoxin A. So can you start by giving a brief overview on the principle of the product?
Yeah. So the cards really are quick and simple. In short, that's what they're meant to be, quick and simple testing. It really is just an extraction of your food sample to get the mycotoxin, a quick filtration step, and then you apply it to the card. That's what it really is after the immunoaffinity column cleanup. So after the immunoaffinity column cleanup has been put in, you apply your elute to the card.
Yep.
The antibody in the card will bind any toxin that's there, and then a kind of ELISA-like process takes place. So you apply a conjugate, you apply a substrate, a wash, and a stop solution, and you get a colour reaction. Yep. So the presence of a colour there is a negative response, because the conjugate's taken the place of the analyte on the antibody.
Yep. Sure.
So it's like a mini ELISA, really short and quick.
Yeah, so sounds quite easy to use with minimum lab setup, perhaps.
Yep. Not a lot of equipment needed at all.
Okay. So I think we've talked before about mycotoxin levels being controlled by various EU regulations. And our last episode, as I say, we talked more in detail with the new Ochratoxin legislative levels that have been put in place in Europe. So some of the changes were lower levels for coffee, and there were some new spices and herbal infusions which were added to the legislation. Now, I think we all know that some of these are quite difficult to analyse. How could OCHRACARD be a benefit in these situations? Yeah,
so like I mentioned there's an immunoaffinity column in the kit. So that really lends itself to these more complex matrices.
Yep.
So the idea being you have an immunoaffinity column in the kit for the cleanup, that'll remove all of the sample matrix.
Yep.
So that's colorants, all the macronutrients, protein, carbohydrates. But yeah, color is a really key one for the cards because you're measuring a color reaction. So that makes it particularly useful for the analysis of complex matrices because that immunoaffinity column does all the work.
Yep.
So it's really helpful for things like spices, herbs, cocoa, coffee, really pigmented things. Those are, as you say, difficult to analyse by ELISA because of that.
Yep.
You really need that good cleanup beforehand. So adding that in, you get a really quick and simple method, but you can apply it to all these complex matrices that would be much more difficult with ELISA.
Yeah, okay. And considering legislative levels for each of the commodities, for coffee, we're working at levels of, say, 3 ppb. For licorice, it's got quite a wide variety of levels there. We're working between 10 up to 80 ppb. and some of the levels for herbal infusions are around 20 ppb. How can OCHRACARD work at the various levels that's needed to meet the legislative requirements?
Yeah, so it is really, really simple. The screening level is determined by a dilution that you make. It's super simple in the lab. You just take an aliquot of your sample extract and dilute it with methanol or PBS, depending. That is all set out in the application notes and instructions. So all that work's already been done. It's a really simple dilution that you just do. Then that sets your screening level, and off you go.
Yeah, and as you say, not only is the kit simple and easy to use, Michael, as you say, the application notes, the instructions for use provide all of the details, and the customers can choose the various dilution that they need to meet
really flexible.
the levels that they're working with. And finally, can you explain what you see as some of the benefits of working with a product like OCHRACARD?
Yeah, right off the bat is probably a time saver. They're so fast. One sample you could probably do in less than half an hour, much less than half an hour. It really is very, very fast. Saying that though, because it's got an immunoaffinity column, it's really robust, really flexible. You get really good results, really precise and accurate results because of that high quality immunoaffinity column in there. But yeah, time saving, cost saving because of that, but with the flexibility of an immunoaffinity column.
Yeah, and presumably, obviously, it's a good screening kit. That's what it's intended for. But you can go on and use your elute from the immunoaffinity column to go and confirm results by HPLC if needed. So
exactly.
You've got that flexibility there with customers there. So thanks for coming in and speaking to us today. That's concluding another episode of our Rhone Infobites, and we look forward to speaking to you all again soon.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.